And good evening. Still bright. I hadn't got all of my lighting worked out just right. Good evening. We're a little later than normal. We normally do this bright and early on Saturday morning. We're doing it at nighttime tonight to get caught up on everything. I was here and a little bit of everywhere today. We may start doing this at night. It may work better to have it to where we can all get together and discuss things in the community at nighttime. One of the things that I wanted to bring up tonight, if you are traveling Highway 19, keep in mind there is a lot of folks out tonight headed to Faith Baptist. Traffic is backed up as people make that turn to go through to take a look at what they've got going on there with their Christmas special, the live nativity, as you go through there. Very, very neat. I hope you can take your family out and go to that. That's going to be going on through, I believe, 8 o'clock tonight. So if you're in the neighborhood of Highway 19 and wonder what all the lights and cars are there for, they're there for that. Very, very good cause. I hope you can make it by and see that before it closes tonight. Another thing that Clark County Hot Topics reached out to me about this. I don't know that everyone is aware of this. It touches my heart. And it touches my heart deeply, and I hope that maybe you can do something. Let me pull this up on the screen where you can see this. This is a benefit for Les Grantham, known as Baby Les. He was born with a disease. He's 7 years old now, and consistently has had to have surgeries. Yesterday, if I understand this right, they had to do surgery to amputate both of this child's legs. It's heartbreaking. The financial burden for the parents is just it's strong. That's a tough one. But let me pull this back up here. If you could help out and buy a cake, certainly go to help that family. That's a real toughie there. Makes you think of your own kids, doesn't it? So anything that you could do to help them, we would certainly appreciate that. See if I can recover from that one. Wow, that's very strong. But I do hope that you can and will as we get near Christmas. The 3rd of December, it's so hard to believe that we're that far into that. As we look around, I did get reports this afternoon. It's Journey to Bethlehem. I didn't say it correctly, did I? Journey to Bethlehem is the name of the program there at Faith Baptist. 7 to 9, another hour of that left. We did get reports of some shots fired this afternoon. Let me pull this up and show you this on the map. This was late this afternoon that we got the word on this. It would be in this area here, Robust Drive. We got reports that it was heard in this area, but it ended up being over in this area right here. No one was hurt, no one was injured to our knowledge, or at least this time. I have gotten numerous reports today of the shooting where we lost a life in Meridian. Everybody aware of that? Let me go over here to where that was. We've last night there was a shooting. The night before last, as we look at this, a shooting and someone lost their life in Meridian. I'm waiting for some official statements. I did report that an arrest was made. I'm finding out that person is not into custody now. We're going to find out more about that before too long. I'll have something more to say about that, but no one is in custody at this time. We'll tell you more about that and reasons behind it, hopefully. We'll have more on that. I got a note, and I think we all ought to be aware of this. The Lauderdale County Sheriff's Department got a letter last week. They've had a gentleman sitting in a cell for the last 2 years. He was charged with aggravated assault and drive-by shooting. Pretty bad stuff, isn't it? Well, the Sheriff's Department received a letter from his attorney, habeas corpus. Basically means that if you're not charged, you have to be turned loose. Anybody remember the statement that the grand jury said about the police department? Training and files are a mess. Anybody remember that? I brought Cassie Coleman in, and we talked about it that day. kind of goes back to that. The file case has been lost. He's going to walk right out the door unless that case file can be found. Oh, I see that he has a 17-year-old that helped him do this. Same case file, gone. They'll get a letter this week asking for his release. That's 2 people, drive-by shootings, aggravated assault, charges lost. Who's in charge? Anybody else question that? That's serious stuff. If you're a criminal, you're pretty good odds there that somebody could lose your case. We'll get names and we'll get more of that next week, and we'll do a story on that. But yeah, you needed to know that. Grand jury already told you that by the cases that was brought before them, didn't they? They did. Let me see if I can tone this down just a little bit here where it won't be so bright in here. We'll get that worked out. That's a little better. I probably can't read what's in front of me. But pretty strong words there as we look at that. We had a fender bender a little bit ago on I-20 there at the airport exit. Whoops. And as I put in the headlines, anybody remember the song John Anderson had? When you get on the whiskey, let somebody else drive? That was the case as we look out at the airport there, as we look at that this afternoon. That's what was going on there. A little small fender bender. Nobody was hurt, but it did result in some handcuffs there at the end. Let's see what else we've had going on. We talked about the shots fired there near Highland Park this afternoon. So we come across. Did anybody see this? Do y'all remember the horses that the police department used to have? The family that adopted it have their Christmas lights up. That's Blaze. That's Maverick. Sort of. In a blow-up kind of way. Appreciate them sending that in to us to share there. And if you've got Christmas pictures, we would certainly love to see your Christmas lights so we can share with everybody else. Would appreciate that. We did have a couple of car chases last night. And as you get into this, it pretty much sums it up. I don't know if y'all had a chance to see this or not. I posted this bright and early this morning there. Basically, this started right along here, and they would speed down and go past 65th and turn here, and it would be, as I wrote it, a little bit more comical until he had that blowout, and he just couldn't go anymore. It happened last night in the early hours of the morning. We had a second one that happened last night of the guys driving down the road 15 miles an hour on the wrong side of the road. And they thought they'd turn the headlights off and kind of disappear. Their luck ran out also, and they got to go down to the Crossbar Hotel. Is that what they still call that? Used to. I heard that as a kid. Naked Man was out this morning. Did anybody get a glimpse of that? North Hill Street was where it was at. He was out for a stroll this morning, somewhere around a little after 6. I got the call about 6:30 and said, there he is, walking down the street. He was near the Dollar Tree this time is where he was. That's his general area there of what happens in Meridian. Maybe you saw it, maybe you didn't. Here's a closer look, and I meant to show this just a second ago, and I had it out in order as we were talking about what was going on over at Faith Baptist. Here's a quick look at what they're doing there. Again, this is going on through 7. You still got time to get in your car and run out. Isn't that neat? Glad someone does that, that cares for us. That's a good cause. Louisville, they are looking for a fella. He's been doing things he shouldn't. They're looking for a suspect. If you have seen him, this is, again, from the Louisville Police Department here. I know this is on a screen, but if you happen to recognize him, the Louisville Police Department would like to know a name where they could talk to him about a situation. That's Louisville, Mississippi is where that is. Let's see what else we had going on. Last night, yesterday evening, we had a pretty rough accident southeast area. Knocked down the power poles. It took out all the red lights there. Had Highway 19 blocked for quite some time. A car flipped, a truck went in the air and went upside down is what happened. Took out the light pole. I think everybody walked away with minor injuries somehow, but pretty rough wreck that happened there. As we go to Clark County, there was also a murder in Clark County. I don't know if y'all have had a chance to see this, but Clark County Hot Topics shared this. We shared this from them. They were dispatched to the 2500 block of Highway 18 East to a residential disturbance. So a lot of this goes on during the holidays, isn't it? Did I mention that Meridian is up to 14? If you keep track of things, last year Meridian had 15 murders. We're at 14 and still got, 27 days to go. Let's see here. Well, we talked about that. Let's see what else we've got going on. This was disturbing. I got a note from a mother yesterday morning that says, my daughter is at school at JSU, and she said police are everywhere. Can you find out a little bit more? And as we dug into this, we would find out that a person was murdered at the JSU campus. How sad that is. Someone's been taken into custody. They've not been charged as we look at all of that. A 22-year-old is the victim from New Jersey. Sad that happened, isn't it? The person that they are looking at is a little bit younger, out of New Orleans, a 20-year-old. Has not been charged. We'll see what becomes of that. Hinds County is investigating a man shot in the chest in the Bolton area. A lot going on across the state of Mississippi. And I have to give this credit as we look at our friends over in Vicksburg. That's really not that far from here, is it? It's west of here. When the sheriff there makes an arrest, shuts down a drug house, puts a sign out front, kind of like those signs that are up for election signs. Y'all know what I'm talking about? He puts it in the front yard and says, this house is closed. This drug house has been shut down. Puts the sheriff's department sign out. Pretty interesting. Kind of like that. Makes a stand, doesn't it? We have two Mississippi prison employees facing a federal indictment. Two of the guards are accused of hitting an inmate in the head with a can. We'll see where that goes. They say that the two guards collaborated to not tell the whole truth about what went on. Jackson, Mississippi, a JPS teacher. Now, this happened a couple 3 years ago. A Jackson teacher was accused of, and we often see this all across the U.S., to where a teacher is accused of, well, I guess the best way to word this is sexual misconduct with a student. She faces 15, 5 suspended, 10 suspended years. Her appeal has been denied. Off to jail she will spend for the next 10 years. Officers, and I want to make sure I'm trying to make sure I say this right. Holmes County, Mississippi, we had another shooting. Deputies come upon a car in Chula. It was wrecked. Been shot into. One person was killed. It just goes on and on and on of what goes on around the areas. As we go back to Friday, when I first started getting those notes, I was flooded with it. What's going on in Carthage? Carthage, pretty much a small little town, isn't it? Not a lot goes on there. It's kind of quiet. But it wasn't so quiet. It had a murder. We had one person that was murdered. This is domestic. We had a woman that was found inside a Cadillac Escalade, bullet-ridden. Another guy was found in an apartment complex that had also been shot. He'd taken a bullet in the leg. Not as bad as she had. That was a rough one. A chase down Highway 16. You just don't think of things like that in those areas, do you? Now, as I look at things that are a little bit more national, we cover a lot of these stories that happen nationwide, and this one cannot be overlooked because, well, as I got a little offbeat while ago talking about a child, Texas girl that went missing. Have y'all heard this story? 7 years old, her and her stepmother had an argument. The little girl was in the front yard, I guess pouting over it. I don't know what the argument was. The stepmother noticed she wasn't there. A few minutes later, she was abducted by the FedEx driver and killed. They've arrested him. They're estimating that she made it 1 hour after being taken. Why would somebody do that? We don't know his motives. He was 30 years old. He's been arrested, and we hope that he'll spend the rest of his life somewhere. Possibly some capital punish. They don't mess around in Texas. That most likely will happen. It may take 20 years, but they usually hold their guns in Texas. That's just disturbing that something like that could happen. Canada. I rarely talk about Canada and what goes on there. I'm not really up to date on all politics with Canada, but a disabled veteran, this story caught my eye. She's been trying to get, those chairlifts you buy that go up and down your staircase in your house? She's been trying to get the veterans. Of course, they have one like here that helps out with veterans with medical supplies, and she was asking for that. She's been put off, and she explained to him how bad she hurt and how bad and painful it was. The operator there with the disabled veteran asked if she wanted to be euthanized. Would that help her feelings? Are they doing that in Canada now? I mean, really? Doesn't shock me. It caught me off guard there. A lot of stink going on in Alabama right now. Y'all see this? Where a 77-year-old lady, no, actually she was 82. I had it mixed up. She was 82 years old. She didn't pay her garbage fees. She was cuffed and stuffed over $77. I'm sure somebody would have paid her $77 before letting her get arrested over that. The cops on that one said they did what they were told. They didn't have a choice. But who at the city signed off on that? It just looks like you'd be hit with a late fee. That's just my thoughts. I don't know. Maybe we just have bigger fish to fry here these days. The chief of police in Tampa, Florida, in trouble. She got pulled over on her golf cart. She said, "I am the police chief of Tampa." They're trying to say that she tried to use her sway to get out of a ticket. They're making headlines out of her. So far today, Elon has been quiet. Nothing big on him today. Now, we are going to get some cooler weather coming up before long, right? Tonight, we're at 70 degrees. We're going to get down to 49, not near as cold as it's been the rest of the week. Big difference, isn't it? A lot happens in our community. I've seen a lot as we look around of what's going on in the Meridian area. Keep in mind, we got some folks probably on the street that don't need to be there. There's a lot of shoplifting going on. I see it over and over throughout the day. I hear about it. I have messages sent to me. Watch this in stores as this comes about, especially if you're a store owner. We think back, what was it, a week ago of the first time I can remember this in quite some time in the Meridian area, the store owner that was attacked in the tobacco store, robbed more or less, and he was stabbed. Y'all remember that? It's a long road to recovery. Keep him in your thoughts and your prayers. We don't want that happening to someone else. And I do not think, I haven't gotten a memo that guy's been arrested. So that's one more person on the street that we don't need. There's a lot of that happening here lately. We want you to be careful. I'm not trying to scare anybody. That's not what we do. We tell you the facts of what's out there and what's happening. We can't do it without you. I hope you'll send us what you know, what you see. We'll investigate it so we can find out about it. We'll ask. We'll try to give you the most accurate weather and headlines that happen in our community. And again, you're the reason we're able to do that. Candace will join me on Monday. I hope you'll be back for that. As Beverly said, that's just wrong what they were doing in Canada as we look up through here. How are you doing, Bonnie Rowe? Glad to see you there. Shayna Black joins us. Glad to see you. A lot of you out there tonight. Vicky Stewart. Elizabeth Graham. Naked man thing is kind of funny. He's not hurting anybody. No, he hadn't hurt anybody. He just likes to run in the nude. Quite good at it. I promise you, if you could enter him in the Olympics, he'd outrun them all. I think he's outrun most everybody on the police force. The guy's fast. He knows his community well and how to get away. Good evening to everyone. I see a bunch of you. Dolores Avery, good to see you there. I was looking to see if we'd missed any notes here of anybody that put anything. So far tonight, everything is going smooth. We'll keep you up to date. We'll make posts and keep you aware of what's happening in our communities, as always. Thank you for dropping by and spending a few moments with me. We'll be back to let you know exactly what happens, the best we know. A lot of break-ins. They happen every night. I don't get them. If you know of one and you own a store, please let us know so we can share that with others. The latest that we had there was on North Frontage Road that I'm aware of. I'm sure there's been some I missed, but that was a big one for those store owners who got broke into and a lot of their inventory taken. They got to make a living just like everybody else. And then we have thieves come along that look at it differently, don't they? Right there across the railroad tracks on the right-hand side there where you take a left to go to Lowe's or go straight on Frontage Road. That was the latest that we have. That was a big one. Thank you again. As always, we'll be back to give you the utmost and latest news that we can find. Headlines, that is. Thanks a bunch. We'll see you soon from all of us here at the Scotty Ray Report.
The Scotty Ray Report is brought to you by our following partners: